Hello, my friend. I'm really glad you're here today. I want to have a very honest conversation with you. Not something perfect, not something complicated, but something real. Something that many of us feel but rarely say out loud. I want to talk about the life you have been imagining but haven't started living yet. Maybe you have a dream, something you want to do, or someone you want to become. You think about it often. Maybe every day. When you wake up, it is there. When you go to sleep, it is still there. In your mind, this dream feels very real. You can see it clearly. You can even feel it. But when you look at your real life, at your daily actions, your habits, your choices, something feels different. The dream feels far away. Not impossible, but not real either. Maybe you imagine yourself speaking English confidently, but in real life, you stay quiet. Maybe you imagine starting something new, but every day looks the same. Maybe you imagine a better version of yourself, but you don't take the first step. So what happens is this: you are not living your dream. You are only visiting it in your mind. And slowly, a gap appears, a quiet but painful distance between the life you imagine and the life you actually live. The saddest distance in the world is not between two people. It is between who you are and who you could be. And this distance does not appear in one day. It grows slowly. Every time you say, "I will start tomorrow," every time you wait until you feel ready, every time you choose comfort instead of action, it grows. And one day, you feel it not as a big failure, but as a quiet frustration inside you, a feeling that something is missing. Today, we are going to talk about that distance. Why does it exist? Why do so many people stay stuck inside their own thoughts? And more importantly, how ordinary people with fear, with doubt, with real problems, slowly learn to move from thinking to living. Because the truth is simple but not easy. Thinking about your life is not the same as living it. This is not a lecture. I'm not here to tell you what to do. This is just a conversation. So stay with me and let's go a little deeper together. Let me describe something and tell me honestly if this feels familiar to you. You are on your way to work, maybe on a bus, on a motorbike, or just walking down the street. Your body is there, but your mind is somewhere else. And slowly, a movie starts playing in your head. You imagine a conversation where you speak English clearly and confidently, and the people listen to you. You imagine yourself in a meeting, sharing your ideas without fear. You imagine leaving your current job and starting something of your own. You imagine a different life, a version of you that feels confident, free, and fully alive. And it feels good. That movie in your head feels safe. It feels perfect. And it feels real for a moment. It gives you energy. It gives you hope, maybe even motivation. But only for a few minutes. Then you arrive at your destination. The bus stops. You reach your office. The movie ends. Real life begins. And nothing changes. This is what I call the life inside your head. And almost everyone has one. A quiet, private life where everything works, where you are better, braver, and more confident than you feel in reality. A place full of things you want to do, things you wish you had done, and things you keep telling yourself you will do someday. The problem is not the dreaming. Dreaming is not bad. In fact, imagination is powerful. It shows you what is possible. But the real problem begins when the dream never leaves your head. When you repeat it again and again, year after year, without taking action, because something dangerous happens. The dream starts to replace action. It gives you the feeling of progress, even when you are not moving at all. And there's a reason for this. Your brain prefers imagination because it is safe. In your head, you don't fail. You don't feel embarrassed. You don't get judged. everything goes the way you want. But in real life, things are uncertain. You can make mistakes. People may not understand you. You may feel uncomfortable. So your brain chooses the easier option. Stay inside the story instead of stepping into reality. Now I want to ask you something personal, and I want you to answer it honestly. How long have you been carrying something in your head that you haven't done yet? 1 month? 1 year? 5 years? Maybe even longer. Is it starting something new? Is it changing your life in some way? You don't need to say it out loud, but you know what it is. There was a man who spent 20 years planning to write a book. Not 1 or 2 years, 20 years. Every morning, he thought about the story. He knew the characters. He knew the chapters. He even knew how the book would end. In his mind, the book was already finished. He told his friends, "One day I will write it." And they believed him because he spoke about it so clearly. But the truth was simple. He never sat down to write even 1 page. Not one. One day, his daughter asked him a very simple question. "Dad, when will you write your book?" He smiled and said, "Soon." And she looked at him and said something he could not forget. "Dad, soon is just another word for never." That night, he could not sleep. Not because he didn't have time, but because he realized something painful. He had been living his dream in his head, but not in his real life. And maybe you have your own version of that story. Maybe it is a language you have been learning soon for years. You watch videos. You understand a lot, but you don't speak. Maybe it is a business idea you have been planning soon forever. Or a change in your life that you keep saying you will make when the time is right. Soon feels comfortable. It keeps your dream alive, but it asks nothing from you. It protects you from failure, from discomfort, from change. Now, I want to pause for a moment and say something important, something I truly mean. I understand that life is not easy, and I am not here to tell you that you are lazy, or that you don't want it enough, or that you just need to work harder. That is not the truth, and that is not what this conversation is about. Life is genuinely hard. For many people, every single day takes real effort. You wake up tired. You have responsibilities. Family, money, work, health. You carry things inside you that other people cannot see. Old pain, past mistakes, things you regret, things you're afraid of. Some experiences make the world feel less safe, and they stay with you longer than you expect. So yes, fear is real. Self-doubt is real. Exhaustion is real. These are not excuses. They are part of being human. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is doing the thing while the fear is still there. So the question is not, why are you afraid? The real question is, why does fear stop us from acting? Why do we stay stuck even when we know what we want? Let me tell you the deeper reason. Not the simple answer, but the real one. The first reason is this: we are afraid of failing in front of other people. In our heads, we can fail safely. We can imagine speaking English perfectly. Or even if we fail in our imagination, nobody sees it. Nobody judges us. But in real life, it is different. When you open your mouth and speak, people are there. They listen. They react. And that creates pressure. For example, you may understand English very well when you listen. You may even form sentences in your head. But when you speak in front of others, something changes. Your mind slows down. Your heart beats faster. You start thinking, what if I say it wrong? What if they don't understand me? What if they think I am not good enough? And here is what happens inside your brain. Your brain is trying to protect you. It sees judgment as danger, not physical danger, but emotional danger. So it sends a signal, stop, stay quiet. And in that moment, Staying silent feels easier than trying. That is why many people don't speak. Not because they don't know enough, but they are trying to avoid that uncomfortable moment of being seen making a mistake. But here is the truth you need to understand. That moment you are trying to avoid is exactly the moment that helps you grow. If you never fail in public, you never improve in public. If you never feel uncomfortable, you never become confident. And if you stay in your head where everything is perfect, your real life will stay exactly the same. The second reason is this: we don't believe we deserve it. This one is very quiet but very powerful. Deep inside, many of us carry a voice that says, this kind of life is for other people, not for me. You may not say it out loud, but you feel it in small moments. When you want to speak, but you stay quiet. When you want to try, but you wait. You tell yourself, I am not smart enough. I am not confident enough. My English is not good enough. I didn't have the same opportunities. Other people are different. And slowly, this belief becomes your limit, not because it is true, but because you repeat it so many times that it starts to feel true. So what do? You stay in a safe space. You learn a little. You watch videos. You think a lot, but you don't take real action. Because if you don't try, you don't fail. And if you don't fail, you don't feel embarrassed. You don't feel exposed. You can protect your image. But there is a hidden cost that many people don't see. When you don't try, you also don't grow. You don't discover your real ability. You don't see how far you can go. You stay in a version of yourself that feels safe but small. Now let's talk about the third reason. Change is uncomfortable. Even good change feels uncomfortable at the beginning. This is something many people don't understand. They think if this is right for me, it should feel easy. But real growth rarely feels easy at the start. Your brain is not designed to help you grow. It is designed to keep you safe. And for your brain, safe means familiar. Even if your current situation is not good, your brain still prefers it because it knows it. It understands it. That is why people stay in jobs they don't like, stay in routines that don't help them, stay in a version of life that feels limited. Not because they love it, but because they know it. Every time you try something new, your brain reacts. You want to speak English, your brain says, what if you say it wrong? You want to change your life, your brain says, what if it fails? It sends a warning signal. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're doing something new. And new always feels uncertain. So many people stop at that exact moment. They feel uncomfortable and they think, this is not for me. But that is not true. That feeling is not a stop sign. It is a signal. It is telling you, you are outside your comfort zone. This is where change begins. If you always go back to what feels comfortable, your life will stay the same. But if you can stay in that uncomfortable moment just a little longer, something starts to change. You become stronger. You become more confident. Not because it is easy, but because you didn't run away. So when you look at all of this together, the fear of being judged, the belief that you don't deserve more, and the discomfort of change, you start to see a bigger picture. These are not your personal problems. These are human patterns. Almost everyone experiences them. The difference is not that successful people don't feel fear. The difference is that they don't wait for the fear to disappear. They understand that fear may stay for a long time, but they move forward anyway, one step at a time. Even when it feels uncomfortable, even when they are not ready. And that small decision to act while feeling fear is what slowly changes everything. And I want to show you this through real people, not famous people, not people with special advantages, just ordinary people, people like you and me, who were scared, who were not ready, but who decided to try anyway. So instead of just talking about ideas, let me show you what this looks like in real life. I want you to listen carefully to these 3 short stories. Maybe you will see a part of yourself in one of them. The first story is about a woman. She was 38 years old. For 15 years, she had wanted to study for a new career. Not 1 year, not 2 years, 15 years. And every year, she told herself the same story. Not yet. The children are too young. The money is not enough. I will do it when the time is right. It always sounded reasonable. It always made sense. And that is why it was so dangerous, because it kept her waiting. One day, she was sitting in a hospital waiting room. Nothing serious, just a normal check. She picked up a magazine to pass the time. Inside, she read about a 52-year-old woman who had just graduated from university. 52. The woman said something simple but powerful. I spent 20 years waiting for the right time. Then I realized the right time was never coming. So I just started. That sentence stayed with her. It was uncomfortable because it was true. She went home that day, and for the first time, she did something different. She didn't think about it. She didn't plan more. She signed up for her first course, not because she felt ready, but because she realized she would never feel ready. The first months were not easy. She was tired. She doubted herself. Sometimes she didn't understand the lessons. Sometimes she wanted to stop, but she didn't. She continued step by step. 4 years later, she had a new career. Not perfect, not easy, but real. Now, let me tell you about someone else. He had studied English for 6 years. 6 years. He could read. He could listen. He understood most things. But speaking, that was a different story. Every time he had to speak English, his body reacted. His mind went blank. His heart beat fast. He started a sentence, stopped in the middle, and said, sorry, then switched back to his own language. One day, his company sent him to a conference in another country. This time, he had no choice. Nobody spoke his language. If he didn't speak English, he couldn't communicate at all. The first day was hard, really hard. He tried to speak, but his sentences were broken. Sometimes people didn't understand him. Once he used the wrong word, and the meaning changed completely. He felt embarrassed. He wanted to stop talking, but something important happened. Nobody laughed. Nobody walked away. People listened. They asked questions. They tried to understand. And slowly, conversations started to happen. Not perfect conversations, but real ones. By the third day, something inside him changed. He was still making mistakes, but he was no longer silent. And he understood something that changed everything. Imperfect speaking is always better than perfect silence. And there was another woman. She had a simple dream. She wanted to create something with her own hands and build a small business. Nothing big, just something of her own. But everyone around her said the same thing. It's too risky. It's not stable. What if it fails? She was afraid, but she tried anyway. The first year was difficult. She earned very little money. Some weeks she sold nothing. She worked hard, but the results were slow. There were many nights when she sat alone and thought, maybe they were right. Maybe this is a mistake. She cried. She doubted herself. She almost stopped more than once, but she didn't stop. Not because she was confident, but because she realized something. Stopping felt worse than continuing. So she kept going, even when nothing seemed to be working. 3 years later, her small business was enough to support her and her family. And when people asked her what was the hardest part, she didn't say the work. She said, the hardest part was the time when nothing was working and I still had to show up every day. 3 different people, 3 different lives, but the same truth in every story. They were not ready. They were not sure. They were not confident, but they started. And starting, even when it was uncomfortable, even when it was unclear, even when there was no guarantee, changed everything. So don't focus too much on the end of their stories. Don't focus on the success. Focus on the beginning. You don't need a perfect life to start. You just need a real decision. And maybe the real question is not, can I do it? Maybe the real question is, am I willing to start even if I'm not ready? Now, I want to say something that might feel a little uncomfortable, but I say it because it is honest, and maybe you need to hear it. Time is not waiting. It is moving quietly every day. Right now, as you listen to this, time is passing. Days are turning into weeks, weeks into months, months into years. And the truth is, the years move faster than you think. This is not to scare you. This is to wake you up. Because when you don't notice time passing, it is very easy to stay the same. So here is a question I want you to really think about. Not quickly, not lightly. If you keep living the same way, if nothing changes, where will you be in 5 years? What will your life look like? Will you still be thinking about the same dream? Will you still be saying soon? Because many people believe something sounds nice. They believe one day I will feel ready. One day I will feel confident, prepared, and sure. And then I will start. But real life does not work that way. You don't feel ready and then begin. You begin and then you slowly become ready. Through doing, through making mistakes, through learning, through continuing, even when it feels difficult. The same is true for everything in life. Confidence is built in real moments, not in your imagination. Skill is built in action, not in thinking. Growth happens when you do something, not when you prepare forever. And this is why waiting is dangerous. Waiting feels like you are preparing, but in reality, you are delaying. The waiting is not helping you prepare. The waiting is the problem. Every day you wait is a day you could have been learning something small. Every year you wait is time you cannot get back. And the hardest part is this: you don't feel it immediately. It happens slowly, quietly. There is one more thing we often say to ourselves when we are afraid to start. We say, I don't have enough time. And yes, sometimes life is busy. That is real. But many times, I don't have time actually means I am not choosing this yet. Because when something becomes truly important, we find time. Maybe not a lot, but enough. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, a small step. So the real question is not, do you have time? The real question is, are you choosing to use your time for the life you want or for the habits that keep your life the same? And that choice, even when it is small, is what slowly changes everything. Okay? So we have been honest about the problem. We talked about fear, overthinking, and waiting. Now let's talk about something more important, what to actually do in real life. Not in your head. I am not going to give you 10 complicated steps because most people don't need more information. They already know what to do. The real problem is that they don't do it. So I am going to give you 4 simple things. Not perfect, not magical, but real. And they work if you actually do them. The first thing is this: name the thing. Right now, don't avoid it. Don't say something or maybe. Be clear in your mind or on paper. Name the thing you have been thinking about for a long time but not doing. Maybe it is learning English seriously. Maybe it is changing your job. Maybe it is starting something small. Maybe it is having a difficult conversation you have been avoiding. Say it clearly. I want to speak English confidently. I want to change my career. I want to start my own project. I want to fix this problem in my life. Because when you don't name it, it stays vague. And when something is vague, it is easy to avoid. It stays in your head as an idea, not as a real direction. But when you name it, something changes. It becomes real. It becomes something you can act on. A dream with a clear name is already closer to reality. And let me say something important here. Many people don't name their dream because they're afraid. Because when you say clearly, you can no longer hide from it. You either act or you accept that you are not acting. And that can feel uncomfortable. But that discomfort is honest. And honesty is where change begins. The second thing is this: find the first door, not the whole staircase. This is where many people get stuck. They don't start, not because they're lazy, but because they feel overwhelmed. They look at the whole journey. I need to be fluent in English. I need to change my whole life. I need to build something big. And their brain says, this is too much. So they stop before they even begin. But you don't need the whole plan. You don't need to see the end. You only need one small, real step. One door you can open this week. If you want to speak English, your first door is not become fluent. Your first door is simple. Speak one sentence today. Record your voice. Join one short conversation. If you want to change your job, your first door is not find the perfect job. Your first step is to update your CV. Learn one new skill. Send one application. If you want to change your life, your first door is not everything. It is something small that moves you forward. And here's the key. Not next month, not when you have time. This week. Something real, something specific, something you can do. Because action creates clarity. Not thinking, not planning forever. Action. And once you take that first step, something powerful happens. The path becomes clearer. The fear becomes smaller. And you realize that the problem was never the size of the dream. The problem was that you were trying to see everything at once. So don't look at the whole staircase. Just find the first door and open it. The third thing is this: change your relationship with failure. This may be the most important thing I say today. Because the real reason most people don't start is not that they don't have time or ability or opportunity. It is because they are trying to avoid failure. They want to feel ready. They want to be good before they begin. But that is impossible. Think about it. You want to speak English, but you don't speak because you're afraid of making mistakes. So you wait. You study more. You think more, but you don't use it. And because you don't use it, you don't improve. So the thing you are trying to avoid failure is actually the thing you need. What if you looked at failure differently? Not as something that stops you, but as something that teaches you. Every mistake shows you something real. Every time you say the wrong word, you learn the right one. Every time someone doesn't understand you, you learn how to say it better. These are lessons you cannot learn in your head. The same is true in life. If you try something and it doesn't work, you don't lose everything. You gain experience. You understand more. You become stronger. So accept this now. You are not going to do this perfectly. Nobody does. The goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to be real, to try, to learn, to continue. Because real growth is always a little messy. The fourth thing is this: choose progress over comfort every single day. This is the hardest one because comfort is always easy to choose. You can scroll on your phone, watch something familiar, delay your work, stay quiet, avoid the difficult thing, and in that moment, it feels fine. But progress is different. Progress feels uncomfortable. It asks you to try something new, to speak when you are not ready, to start when you are not sure, to continue even when it is slow. And every day, you will face this choice, not once, but many times. Small moments, small decisions. Do I stay comfortable or do I grow a little? You can spend 20 minutes watching random videos or you can spend 10 minutes speaking English out loud. You can stay silent in a conversation, or you can try one sentence. You can delay again, or you can take one small step. These choices look small. They don't feel important. But over time, they become everything. They are the difference between the life you imagine and the life you actually live. You will not change your life in one big dramatic moment. You will change it in 100 small, ordinary, uncomfortable choices made every day when nobody's watching. We are coming close to the end of this episode, and I want to slow down for a moment. I want to speak to you directly, not as a teacher, not as someone giving advice, just as one person to another. I know life has not been easy for you. I know that some days just getting through the day takes all your energy. I know that there are things in your past that made it harder to trust yourself. And I know that sometimes the voice of doubt inside your mind is louder than anything else. You have been carrying a dream, maybe for a long time, maybe quietly, maybe without telling anyone, and maybe you are not sure if it will ever happen. But I want you to hear this clearly. The fact that you still have that dream after everything you have been through is not a small thing. It is something powerful. It means something inside you has not given up. Something inside you still believes that your life can be different, that you can be different. And that part of you is not wrong. That part of you is telling the truth. You don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need to be brave enough, smart enough, or completely ready. You just need to be willing to take one small step, willing to try, even when it feels imperfect, willing to choose just once, just today, the growing thing instead of the comfortable thing, because this is how everything begins, not with a perfect plan, not with the perfect moment. It begins with a simple, quiet decision, a decision that may not look important, but changes everything. Your real life is not waiting for you to be ready. It is waiting for you to start. So here is what I want you to do. Not tomorrow, not later. Right after this podcast ends, take 2 minutes, just 2 minutes, and answer this question honestly. What is one real thing I can do this week to move from my head into my life? Keep it small. Keep it real. If it's English, maybe it is speaking one sentence out loud every day. Maybe it is recording your voice for 1 minute. Maybe it is sending one message in English. If it's something else in your life, maybe it is making one call, writing one page, taking one step you have been avoiding. Not a big plan, not 10 steps, just one action, and then do it. Not perfectly, not confidently, just do it. Because this is the truth. Your life is not a rehearsal. This is not practice. This is your real time, your real days, your real chance to live, to try, to change something. And if you keep everything inside your head, nothing in your life will change. So don't let your life stay in your thoughts. Bring it into your actions, into your voice, into your hands, into your real, imperfect, but meaningful life. And maybe the most important step is not a big one. Maybe it is simply this. You stop thinking and you begin, thank you for being here today. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye for now.